We got a call about a girl's first car that she parked in a barn 6 years ago, asking if we could drive 4 hours to New York, pull the car out of the barn, and help try and save it. But what cooler first car is there than a 1990 Mazda Miata? Making a neck-breaking 116 horsepower and only weighing 2,100 pounds, this had to be such a fun little car to drive, which leads us to the question, can we get this car not only cleaned up, but running again so she can enjoy her first car back on the road? But before we could even get there, we had to drive 4 hours from Cleveland, Ohio, all the way to New York, and thought you guys might like to watch some of our trip there.
So we have this little RV that says, help get our daughter to Vermont to meet her great-great-grandma. It's 96. So I'm gonna send them 20 bucks, Cash App. All right, good luck. I just sent them 20 bucks for a trip they probably took like 7 years ago and just never wiped it off the RV. They're like, hey, every now and then somebody sends us $20 in gas, so why would we wipe this off?
Then after that, we spotted something in the sky that I had no idea what it was at first. I had to ask RJ and he filled me in. I'm not gonna say it in the video. If you guys know what we're looking at right now, leave it in the comments. It's one of the coolest things I've seen, especially being from Ohio. We don't see this where we're from. But then as we started pulling up to where the barn and the Miata was, it was just such a beautiful view. And we got to see the bright red barn that it was sitting in and finally take a look at it for the first time.
Drove 4.5 hours all the way to Elmira, New York, and we're out in the hills of the Allegheny Mountains. Supposedly there's a Miata in this barn right behind me. It was worth the drive. Oh, dude, look at this thing. Wow. Holy smokes. It's in great shape too. I don't see any rust, and apparently this is a custom paint job, or at least that's what I was told. They are such cute little cars. I've actually wanted a Miata for a long time. I just never got around to buying one. If I'm not mistaken, this is the first gen. Look at the little door handle. Cute little guy. And we're constantly looking for these kinds of cars, and now we're willing to drive even farther if you guys have anything like this. So if you have a car that's an enthusiast vehicle that's in extremely dirty condition, you can email or DM us here. Just send pictures of the car, and please make sure that the car is extremely dirty. A lot of people send us their cars that are kind of clean, and there's nothing that we can do with a clean car. Our whole channel is cleaning dirty cars. So please send us where you're from and pictures of the car that you have, because we might come out to you and detail your car absolutely for free and make some awesome YouTube content in the process. But now we have to go get the owner, get the backstory on this car, and then get it into our trailer, because we have to drive all the way back to Cleveland today, and we're running out of daylight. We're here with the owners, Ryan and Victoria. Victoria, I believe this was your car, correct?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Was this your first car?
It was.
You had okay, that's a fantastic first car. You got it when you were 16?
I think 17, yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
But like the first one when it was actually your car.
Yep, I saw it on the side of the road and I just fell in love with it, and it was fast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are, I've actually always wanted one to take to the track because the power to weight distribution, it's not a ton of power, but they're so much fun to drive. I do know that it had a custom paint job.
That's right.
So was that you're doing?
Yeah, it was white originally,
okay.
But there was a lot of chipping and stuff. So I had a friend whose dad owned a shop, so we picked this color and he did it pretty quickly. And it's cute.
Yeah, it's a beautiful color. It looks like you did a really good job. And the best part is that, you know, my concern was, being that it's wet in here, that we'd have some rust. It seems like it's in great shape.
Good.
Seems like you really did love it while it was out of the barn. I guess the next question is, how did it get in the barn and why has it been here for so long?
When we moved in, we had a 1-year-old. So obviously I didn't drive it when I was pregnant or when he was born. And then we just kept having kids, so I never got back in it. So it's just been sitting here.
So when it was put in here, it was driving, it was fully functional?
100%, yeah. We had put new tires on it, so it's been a really good car. Never had an issue. Yeah,
the 4-cylinder motor that's in there is pretty reliable. So my hopes is that we get to bring it back to you running, driving, and looking brand new.
That's what we're hoping for.
Yeah, so I really appreciate you guys having us come out, and the trust and everything else. And I guess there's nothing left than to move this tractor and figure out how we're gonna get this Miata out of here. All right, you think it's gonna hold air, Brent?
I do, actually. Uh-oh. Maybe not. Oh, it's leaking out.
We might have to jack it up and see if the bead will set.
So while we jack the car up, I want to ask the question of the video. Leave your answers in the comments below. Are you someone who would like to enjoy and try driving around a Miata, or do you think the car's overhyped? Let us know what you think in the comments.
All right, let's try it again. Yes! That's what I'm talking about. If at first you don't succeed, try and try again.
Who said that?
Wayne Gretzky?
Michael Scott?
Yeah.
And while we pull the Miata out of the garage, I want to tell you guys, if you're not subscribed to the channel, right now is the absolute perfect time, because we found a car that we've been hunting down for this channel for years that I know you guys have been wanting to see, and it's coming next week, so you really do not want to miss that video. Make sure you're subscribed so it pops up on your feed.
All right, so we just made it back from New York. It was a 4.5-hour drive, and thankfully we got the Miata back safe. And Mike hasn't seen it yet, so I want to get your first impressions.
So my first impressions is, what a cute little car. I think it looks really great. I love these little pop-up headlights, and I've only driven a Miata once, but it was a newer one, so I'm really interested to learn more about these older ones because I really don't know that much about them, even though they're really popular.
I think the first generation is popular, and then maybe the third generation is really popular. I'm not super familiar with Miatas in general. All I know is that, like I said before in the intro, that they're extremely fun to drive and they're so cute. When they moved and had kids, they stored the car in this barn, and that's where it sat for the last 5 or 6 years, I think.
I can only imagine. This isn't a great car for having kids, but I can only imagine that this was an amazing first car to have, to learn stick on, to have a drop top. Like, this must have been a lot of fun.
She was probably cool as heck in high school driving
Yeah.
this thing around. The only fear is it was sitting on a wet floor. I'm hoping when we were dragging it on, it's a little rusty underneath, so I'm hoping that the engine's not locked up, and maybe we can start it. That way we can surprise her with a clean running car when we bring it back.
I would love to drive this car.
Oh my god, that's a dead chicken, or a dead...
Oh my God, that is a dead bird, Brent. Brent just pointed this out off camera. That is like a dead swallow.
It's a little cheaper.
Or something. I'm not a bird watcher, but
Poor little guy. All right, speaking of dead birds, we wanted to give you guys a little update on Frank, our bird that was outside, our baby seagull. And I'm pretty sure he found the street and a car found him.
He was right in front of the McDonald's, and he had the light at the end of the tunnel that he was going towards, and I don't think he saw the lights coming down the street at him. If we could just take a moment for a moment of silence for Frank.
With that being said, let's get started on this Miata.
So the first thing we're gonna do is vacuum all these wood chips off the car because it was sitting right next to some sort of wood drill, and someone was drilling right next to the car, and all the shavings were flying right on top of it. Now for these wheels, these are definitely stock, so my question while we're cleaning them is, would you guys change these out for something newer and cooler, or would you keep this car completely stock? And now it's time to pressure wash all the dust away, and we're going to use a pre-rinse first so we're not adding any unnecessary scratches into the paint before we actually clean it. For the soft top, we're going to clean it in 2 stages. First, we're going to do our normal pre-rinse and pressure washing, and then we're going to put a degreaser on it and use a light drill brush to agitate it into the fibers, spray it all away, and it's going to make it nice and clean again.
under this Miata, we noticed a bunch of bags coming from the pan under the car, which usually means somebody made a little nest down there. So I'm gonna unbolt the pan now, take it down, and we will see what we find. I think I got one more bolt, and then it should come down. I know why this car is so low now. It has Eibach lowering springs on it. I was pretty sure that this thing was not stock height because I couldn't get the jack under it. Not too bad. But somebody was living down there.
They like bags.
They love bags. I wonder what this was. Was it possum or?
I don't know. What
Maybe raccoon.
animal likes to use bags as?
Not mice. Mice don't like bags. I think possums love bags. Yeah, every time we find a possum in the engine bay, there's bags. That's definitely it. We'll get this all pressure washed out and bolted back up. So under the hood of this Miata, we have a 1.6 liter 4-cylinder, 16 valve engine. And can you guess how much horsepower this thing makes?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
I would probably guess like maybe 190.
No, not that much, but so it's a 1.6 liter with 16 valves. It makes 116 horsepower. So they kept that pretty consistent right there. Sounds like a very little amount, but when you remember that this car only weighs about 2,200 pounds, that's a good amount of power for a car this size and a lot of fun too. Another question for you, Brent. This engine's mounted this way instead of this way. Why is that?
Airflow.
No.
I don't know.
It's because the Miatas are rear-wheel drive, which is awesome. We don't have any cars today that are small, rear-wheel drive, simple cars like this. How much do you think this thing cost when it was new? Like a base model Miata in the 90?
$5 grand.
Ridiculous, only 14,000. But the point is, there is nothing, not one car on the market today that's even close to this. There's not one car on the market today that was that cheap and that had that much fun for you. Does Mazda still make the Miata anymore or not?
I think there's a new one. I don't know when the last time they made it.
You guys gotta let me know. I gotta do my own research. But the Miata is overinflated in price now anyways. But back then, this was such a deal for such a fun little car. Like, you could not have any more fun on curvy roads than this thing, that's for sure. And my buddy Bronco loves these things, so shout out to you, Bronco.
Last question. So Miatas, they're MX-5s, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what that stands for?
I don't know what that stands for. I have no idea. Please let us know what it does stand for, because this is not a car that I have any experience with, but I do think they're really cool. Anytime I see one on the street with the pop-up headlights, I love to see it. You know, it's just a fun little car.
Anyways, we should probably vacuum all this stuff out and then clean it.
Yeah, first we're gonna vacuum it all out, then clean it up, and then I'm gonna see if this motor turns over, and then we'll see if maybe we get this thing started later. Now that the engine bay is clean, I have my handy dandy wrench and socket here with a 21mm on it. We're gonna see if we can get this motor to turn over by hand. Okay, there it is, and let's see. Uh-oh, that's not good. Well, you can't win them all, can you? This is a small 1.6 liter motor. I've been able to turn over much larger motors by hand, so I don't have high hopes anymore. I mean, we'll still put power to it, see if the starter can click it over, but my hopes aren't as high as they once were.
Is it just me, or does this Miata font look a lot like the Mark IV Super font?
Okay, so now that the paint's washed, in every single video you'll hear me talk about how we remove the iron that's in the paint, but sometimes you can't actually see what I'm talking about. But on this paint, it's very clear right here. I can actually show you guys what the iron rusted into the clear coat looks like. It's all these little yellow specks. So what I'll do is I'll take this iron remover. We have it in this pump sprayer, so a lot of times you guys will see Mike, he'll spray it on the car, which he's working on right now with a clay mitt. So we use the iron remover as a lubricant. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the iron remover and just spray it right here. And instantly, as it starts removing the iron, it turns purple. I'm not sure what the chemical reaction is, why it does that, but it lets you know that it's removing it. So if you have a white car and you have iron everywhere, it's actually really fun to watch it do that. Your whole car will turn purple. Now that it's purple, you can take the clay mitt and remove all that iron. So now we'll rinse it off and we'll show you guys the final result. And now that it's rinsed away, you can see all of that is gone. And then RJ is gonna polish the paint, which is gonna make it look pretty much brand new.
All right, moving on to the interior of this Miata. I gotta say, it is pretty bare bones, but for a $14,000 car, what do you expect? It did come with actually really cool mats. I really do like the styling and the lettering there. This shift knob feels really, really good. And I like how it's short and notchy. I think this is OEM. I don't think that this is aftermarket, although this does have the suspension upgrade, but bare bones, it's only what you need. You have literally just hazard lights, headlights up and down, and then your AC controls and a radio. That's it.
Really quick, Mike, I have to pause you.
Sure.
Does that hazard light look like a button that you're not supposed to press, but you really want to?
It most definitely does. It most definitely does. I'm gonna press it.
It just looks like a button you're not supposed to click,
Yeah,
kind of like in the
actually,
movies.
Actually all red like that. Another thing about Mazda and the Miata is that they tried to make this car as light as possible. So it's intention built to be bare bones in here. There's not supposed to be a lot of stuff going on, which I actually appreciate. Now I'm looking up here. These are really interesting. I've never seen any like that are a double system like this. But it makes sense. It keeps it nice and small, so it can be tight knit up there.
What do you say we get these seats out, start cleaning it, because that's gross.
They're super gross, and as you can see here, I'm actually sitting on towels because these ones are pretty gnarly.
All right, let's get them out.
While we have the vacuum out, let's get this trunk cleaned up. But while we were doing this detail, the one thing I said to Mike, I don't understand why the spare tire has like a leather protective case around the actual tire. I get it that maybe you're just trying to protect it, but at the same time, that's not very functional. So I don't really understand that. Let's also quickly take care of this moldy seat so it can start drying before we do all the plastics and vinyls on the interior. Okay, now that all that's done, we can get to these carpets with the extractor and suck all the filth out of them. And now we're going to finish up the detail and see if we can get this to run before we get the final reaction to the car.
All right, so like Mike had said, the engine isn't turning over by hand, so we don't have high hopes, but we're gonna put electricity to it and put some power to it and see if we can at least get the headlights to pop up, and maybe there's some reason why maybe Mike didn't eat breakfast and couldn't turn the little 4-cylinder over. We will, we do it with V8s all the time, so unfortunately I feel like this thing is, I feel like that moisture from the floor really rusted out the chassis and unfortunately the engine on this car, so I don't think it's actually gonna run, but it wouldn't be fair to not give it a...
They popped up on their own.
Wow, sweet.
What's that terrible noise?
Those were good.
They do work very good.
Really good. This is such a shame, this poor car. Whoa, why is this clutch not go... Oh.
Hey, it did turn over.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Dude, this thing might run. Oh my gosh. All right, boys, we have more work to do. You know, it doesn't smell that bad in there. I think it's just out of gas. What do you think, the whole thing, Mike?
Like half that thing. You don't gotta put the whole thing.
Now that we have fresh gas, I think we have a good chance of getting this baby to turn over. Whoa.
No, they are sparking.
That one's not.
It's spark. I see them all. They're not all consistent though, so I mean, it could use new plugs. Do it one more time. Yeah, you see how nice and blue that is? And that one's a little bit off. So, back with the Miata, we just put in a fresh battery, and right now I am installing some new spark plugs. We didn't show it on camera, but this car actually has basically fresh new oil in it already. If we're lucky, after I put the spark plug in, I already put the other ones in, we'll be able to get this thing started up.
Battery's working. Come on.
Ready?
Yes.
Go ahead. Huh. Next, I think we need to do a compression test to see if this engine's still good. So, wish us luck.
What's the range that we're looking for?
The bottom of the range is about 135 PSI on this motor. All right, stop. So we're right under 90 PSI on the first cylinder that we tested. 90. That's not a great start, but let's check the other ones too. That one's reading the same, right under 90 as well. When I looked at this proper functioning motor in here, it's supposed to have between 135 and 195 PSI. Very consistent though, yeah, right under 90 again. As long as the cylinders aren't scored from it sitting in some buildup, this could be easily fixed with just a head gasket. If they are scored, this would be a lot more work to get running, or you'd be looking at throwing a whole new engine in this car. So with that being said, we're sadly not gonna get this one started.
All right, guys, so we made it all the way back to New York with the Miata, and we're here with Valerie and Ryan, the owners. They haven't seen the car all finished yet, so we're about to have Mike jump into the truck and move the trailer. Without further ado, I guess we'll move the truck and show you guys your car. All right, Mike.
Oh,
that's awesome. That looks so good.
Wow, it's so clean.
Yeah, come check it out.
Wow, it looks brand new.
All the electronics do work. We got the headlights to pop up and everything.
That is amazing. You guys did a fantastic
Yeah,
job.
you did really good.
Thank you. This was
It is gorgeous.
This was a really fun car to work on. And now maybe I'll swap it and it can be one of these guys' first cars.
I don't know about that.
We have to share? Oh my goodness, do you like it? Wow, I don't think it was ever this clean.
You guys live in such a beautiful part of the country, and this is
Thank
such
you,
a beautiful
thank you.
car, so we were super excited to come out and do it. So that is it for the Miata. Hopefully it gets fixed and is back on the road soon. With that being said, if you did enjoy it, please leave a like, and if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe, and we'll catch you next week. And we have an amazing video next week as well, so stay tuned.